Good morning, Bachman Middle School. Today is Monday, April 11th. It is a B day. It is a band day 6, and I am Mr. Strand with today's Tiger Talk. But we're going to start things off the same way we do every week. So please rise as you are able, place your hand over your heart, and respect the flag as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A huge thank you to my nephews Jacob and Nixon for saying the pledge this week. All right, you can go ahead and sit down now. Next up, it's time for our word of the week. This week's word is origin. Origin means the point or place where something begins or is derived. Today, I'm in my hometown, Hatton, North Dakota, shooting at Hatton-Eielson Public School. I went here from grades kindergarten through 12th grade, so it is the origin of my education. Speaking of origins, you'll see behind me there's a sign that says Hatton, home of Carl Ben Eielson. Who is Carl Ben Eielson, you might very well be asking? He was an early pilot, the first person to fly over the North Pole from Alaska to Norway. And he was also the aviator who brought airmail to Alaska in the 1920s. That's right, he is the originator of airmail in the territory of Alaska, which is now a state, of course, but it certainly wasn't in the 1920s. He's our hometown hero. Today is also Mindful Monday. So here is 8th grade counselor Mrs. McGuire with today's Mindful Monday message.
Hey everybody, it's Mrs. McGuire and it's time for another mindful moment. This month I'm going to focus on how to be a mindful communicator. We know that effective communication is important to help us get our point across, to help us make connections with others. And being effective communicators can help us feel like we are valuable to others and that we value others and further strengthening our connections. Although it is important, it is a skill that many people struggle to develop. So at its core, communication is about responding to people in a thoughtful manner. And when people sense that you aren't present during a conversation because you're distracted or you're not paying attention, they assume that you don't agree with them or that you don't value what they're saying or you don't value them or their time. This leads to misunderstanding, strained relationships, and a further breakdown in communication with this spiral of poor communication. But if we're mindful in our communication, we can demonstrate our presence in a discussion and help us break down these barriers. So mindful communication involves applying principles of mindfulness to the way we correspond with others. So this involves setting an intention, being fully present, and remaining open and non-judgmental as we relate to others with compassion. In essence, mindful communication is about bringing a greater level of awareness to the two major components of communication, listening and speaking. This week, we're going to focus on mindful listening. So it's obvious to say, but the goal of mindful listening is to understand what the speaker is trying to convey. It involves taking an interest what others are saying and giving them our full attention. Unfortunately, very often, most people don't listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. So there are 4 common roadblocks to mindful listening that draws our attention away from what is being said and take us out of the moment, interfering with our ability to truly understand what others are saying. These roadblocks are comparing your thoughts and experiences to others, mind reading, so trying to predict what the speaker is going to say next, and even going so far as to try and get to their point before they get there, saying it out loud. Sometimes we're rehearsing what you plan to say, so thinking through what you want to say as the other person is talking to you, or judging what the speaker is saying before they've finished, which leads you to almost just dismiss what they're saying before they've even said it. So to become a more mindful listener, try to avoid focusing on yourself. Don't interrupt others or finish other sentences. Don't plan a response while others are speaking, and refrain from making judgments while people are still talking. Instead, you can demonstrate you were listening attentively by paraphrasing what the speaker has said and asking for clarification when necessary. Part of mindful listening also involves learning to become comfortable with silence. For many, this means you need to slow down and allow others to finish speaking. It also means giving people the space to collect their thoughts before jumping in and filling that silent space. When you approach conversations with the intention to understand it, it is important to refrain from leading the conversation. Give others the time and space they need, and you're likely to find the resulting discussion more meaningful and informative.
Thank you so much, Mrs. McGuire. Next up is a message for 8th graders only. So 6th and 7th graders, don't listen. No, I'm just kidding. You can listen. All right, here it is.
Have you heard about the 8th grade celebration? No, we haven't!
On May 6th, starts at 3:30 and ends at 5:30.
DJ, dancing, games in the cafeteria and gym, a photo booth, food, and more.
All your friends will be there. It's just $10.
You can buy tickets in TC soon.
Awesome! Sounds like fun! And remember, 8th graders only!
6th and 7th graders, don't worry. You really will get to celebrate at some point, I promise. By the way, I'm standing right now in the actual classroom where I went to kindergarten, the true origin point of my education. That's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more Tiger Talk. See you then.